Istanbul, the year 1923. The bustling metropolis, a crossroads of cultures and ideas, at that time still was the heart of the quest for Islamic theological education. Here, amidst the historic mosques and bustling bazaars, the future of Islamic scholarship seemed bright and unbound. Among the large number of scholars, the vibrant streets of Istanbul stood as a beacon for Bosnian Muslim students as well. Yet, this year also marked a pivotal turning point under the leadership of Kemal Ataturk. With the declaration of the Republic of Turkey in 1923 and subsequent reforms, Ataturk embarked on a radical transformation of Turkish society. Among these changes was the formal abolition of the caliphate as the Islamic form of government and prohibition of religious schools in Turkey. As part of Ataturk's sweeping secularization efforts, the closure of these institutions not only signaled a disruption in the centuries-old practice of Bosnian Muslims traveling to Istanbul for religious studies, but also reflected a broader clash between modernization and tradition inside the Turkish society, which is still ongoing. However, the closing of these educational gateways forced Bosnian scholars to seek alternatives, and they found it very soon. Their new destination became the capital of Egypt, Cairo. Considering that Cairo will afford the knowledge that they used to get in Istanbul, they went there in the period between two world wars, 1918-1941, where 3 generations of students completed the studies at the prestigious faculty of Al-Azhar University. Al-Azhar University, recognized as the 3rd oldest Islamic college in the world, stands as a beacon of Islamic scholarship and learning. Founded in Cairo, Egypt, in 970 AD, it has been at the forefront of its unwavering commitment to the study of Islamic law, theology, and the Arabic language, making it a pivotal institution in the Muslim world. In the formative years of Islamic thought among Bosnian Muslims, a notable group of scholars emerged from the first generation of students with significant influence. Among them were Alija Aganović, Mehmed Hanjić, Kasim Dobrića, Akif Hanjić, and many others. Their connections were deeply rooted in the organization El Hidayah and through various roles within the Islamic community. This period coincided with tumultuous times, including the fascist regime in the independent state of Croatia and the subsequent formation of Yugoslavia. Alija Aganović, an alumnus of Al-Azhar University, played a controversial role at the onset of World War II, engaging the Muslim population in the Ustasha military units. Advocating for the independence of Bosnia and Herzegovina, he sought the support of German officials in the independent state of Croatia, aiming to strengthen the Third Reich's presence in the Balkans. In regard of his connections with the Ustasha movement, Aganović led the Islamic religious community during the opening of the Pavelić Mosque in Zagreb on August 18, 1944. Another Cairo-educated figure, Akif Hanjić, aligned himself with Francetić's Black Legion by the end of 1941, serving as the unit's mufti. By October 1942, his role expanded to mufti of the Ustasha soldiers, earning him titles within their ranks. Known for his staunch support of the Ustasha movement and the independent state of Croatia, Hanjić was instrumental in recruiting the Muslims from the eastern parts of Bosnia into the SS Ustasha divisions, showcasing his unwavering commitment to the cause. It was precisely the leading thought of the some Muslim mufti, and in 1942, several Muslim intellectuals, including Sarajevo Mayor Mustafa Softić, sent a letter to Hitler, emphasizing the need for independence of Bosnia and Herzegovina in relation to the independent state of Croatia, and inviting him to put Bosnia under the supervision of the Third Reich. Such ideas found fertile soil in the mind of Heinrich Himmler, who suggested to Hitler in 1943 to form a special SS unit only from Bosnian Muslims, which Hitler approved and thus formed the 13th Waffen Mountain Division of the SS Handschar, which committed notorious crimes against the Serbs, Jews, and Roma people. According to this recipe, the SS Skenderbeg Division was formed in the area of Kosovo and Metohija, which was tasked to solve the Serb and Jewish question there. The SS Handschar unit had not only the support of local Muslim and Ustasha structures, but also direct support from the Mufti of Jerusalem, Haj Amin al-Husseini. In March-April 1943, both Himmler and a group of Muslim leaders within the independent state of Croatia requested that the Haj Amin al-Husseini assist in organizing and recruiting Muslims into the Waffen SS and other units. From the 30 March to 10 of April, the Mufti visited Zagreb, Sarajevo, and Banja Luka to meet the senior Muslim leaders and agitate in support of the new SS Handschar Division. One of the most prominent members of the SS Handschar Division, and her main Mufti, was another student from Al-Azhar University, Hussein Effendi Jozo. Alongside the Palestinian Al-Husseini, the Bosnian Al-Husseini, Hussein Jozo, volunteered to be the chief imam of the division. After the war, Jozo was convicted of collaborating with the Nazis and imprisoned by the Yugoslavian authorities, but he was pardoned and released in 1950. Later, Jozo was elected chairman of the Union of Imams of Bosnia, and was even the interpreter of Josip Broz Tito, the president of Yugoslavia, during his official visits to Arab countries. Mehmed Hanjic distinguished himself among his peers through his academic achievements and social activism at Al-Azhar University in Cairo, where he was deeply influenced by his mentor, Abdul Aziz al-Jawish, a key figure in the foundation of El-Hidayah and the Association of Young Muslims in Egypt. Bringing his learnings and experiences back to Sarajevo, Hanjic established the Association of Muslim Youth and initiated the publication of a magazine titled El-Hidayah. Within this framework, he also founded a branch youth section known as Young Muslims. Within this generation of students, there were those directly involved in the actions of the Ustasha movement, while others, arguably more moderate, such as Mehmed Hanjic, were instrumental in initiating the notable Sarajevo Resolution. This resolution condemned the persecution of Serbs, Roma, and Jews in the independent state of Croatia. Today, Muslim political elites often reference this as a counter-argument to accusations of collaboration with the Ustashas. However, the situation is complex, given that some signatories, including Alija Aganović, Hussein Jozo, and Akif Hanjic, had known affiliations with the Ustashas. Interestingly, on August 7, 1941, 2 months prior to the Sarajevo Resolution, a delegation from Sarajevo's ulama, led by Adamaga Mesić, Hakija Hadžić, Mehmed Hanjic, and others, met with Ustashi leader Ante Pavelić concerning the construction of a mosque in Zagreb. This meeting suggests a warmer relationship with Pavelić, raising questions about the timing and motivations behind the subsequent condemnation of atrocities. Additionally, Hanjic had appointed Pavelić as a lecturer at the Higher Islamic Sharia School in Sarajevo, further complicating the narrative around the Sarajevo Resolution and its signatories' positions. Following the death of El-Hidayah's president, Mehmed Hanjic, in July 1944, Kasim Effendi Dobrica took over as president. He was also Al-Azhar alumnus and official translator during the visit of Amin Husseini to Sarajevo. At the time when the Young Muslims acted as a branch of El-Hidayah, an organization of the Islamic clergy of the independent state of Croatia, Mustafa Busulagic was their official president in Sarajevo after the proposal by Kasim Dobrica and Mehmed Hanjic. In August 1942, Sarajevo's magazine Osvit featured a positive portrayal of El-Husseini based on an interview conducted by Mustafa Busulagic in Rome. Post-war, Busulagic faced execution on June 29, 1945, alongside others convicted of Nazi collaboration and praising of Third Reich. Alija Izetbegović, one of the founders of Mladi Muslimani Young Muslims and later the first president of independent Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1992, was arrested in 1946 for attempting to revive the organization and was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Following Izetbegovic's arrest, Halid Kajtaz succeeded him, but was sentenced to death and executed in October 1949. Izetbegović later remarked that his earlier prison sentence spared his life. The post-war period saw many members of Young Muslims and El-Hidayah, essentially a joint intellectual circle, convicted, leading to the near dissolution of these organizations. Yet, some members persevered, discreetly carrying on their ideals. The 1970s, a time of increased exchange with Islamic countries through Yugoslavia's non-aligned movement, saw renewed connections among surviving members. In 1964, a contingent of Sudanese students, including dentistry student El-Fatih Hassanain, a member of Young Muslims, branch of Muslim Brotherhood in Sudan, arrived in Belgrade. In the 1970s, Hassanain's visit to Sarajevo sparked interest in reconnecting with Young Muslims members from Bosnia, including Hussein Jozo and Kasim Dobrica. Despite initial resistance by other members, only Alija Izetbegović embraced Hassanain's idea of uniting under a single organization, leading to the translation of Islamic books from Arabic and English language. During this period, Alija Izetbegović was already working on his seminal work, Islamic Declaration. In 1977, El-Fatih Hassanein took the manuscript to London for better corrections, review, and print by his Muslim brothers. The publication of Islamic Declaration, which articulated the principles of fundamental Islamism through pan-Islamism, became a pivotal moment. On the early morning of March 23, 1983, authorities of the Socialist Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina arrested Alija Izetbegović, along with other young Muslims. This led to the initiation of the Sarajevo process. The charges against them included their book, their fundamentalist ideology, and a trip to Iran in January 1983. The trial concluded with the accused being found guilty of attempting to undermine the constitutional order, resulting in a collective sentence of 89.5 years in prison, with Izetbegović receiving 14 years. The Supreme Court of Bosnia and Herzegovina marginally reduced his sentence to 12 years, and following an appeal to the Federal Court of Yugoslavia, it was further reduced to 9 years for verbal delict. Izetbegović served 5 years and 8 months, gaining his freedom on November 25, 1988. In 1990, Alija Izetbegović reprinted his book, Islamic Declaration, without any modifications to its content. This document, characterized by its ideological alignment with the Muslim Brotherhood and pan-Islamism, served as the foundational political manifesto for the Party of Democratic Action, SDA. The SDA, established as the first political party in Bosnia and Herzegovina, adopted this declaration as its official platform. 1 year before Izetbegović will leave the prison, in 1987, El-Fatih Hassanein and his brother Sukarno established the Third World Relief Agency in Vienna. The organization played a crucial role in mobilizing support for Muslims in Bosnia and Herzegovina, with significant backing from the Muslim Brotherhood. In May 1990, shortly after his release from prison, Izetbegović, together with the leading members of the Muslim Brotherhood and Young Muslims organization, founded the Party of Democratic Action, SDA. In accordance with the doctrine of this ideology and political Islam, they nominally advocate democracy and universal values at that moment. But after they become the majority in the specific society and state, they will transition to the doctrine of civilizational jihad and the idea for the establishment of Sharia law. What is interesting is that Izetbegović also led his son Bakir on meetings with El-Fatih Hassanein, who later performed the function of a Muslim member of Bosnia and Herzegovina presidency and is still the president of the SDA today. In 2014, Bakir Izetbegović welcomed the delegation of the Muslim Brotherhood in the presidency building, where a photo was created with their famous four fingers greeting. One more prominent member of the SDA party with links toward Muslim Brotherhood is Bisera Turković, former foreign minister of Bosnia. 15 days before her appointment as Minister of Foreign Affairs in 2019, she visited jihadi clerk and spiritual leader of Muslim Brotherhood, Yusuf al-Qaradawi, who also supported the arrival of the jihadi warriors during the war in Bosnia. At the time of war, Bisera Turković was the ambassador of the Bosnia and Herzegovina in Zagreb, and worked closely with the Third World Relief Agency officials on terrorism sponsorship deals and money laundering. Even during the war, Bosnia and Herzegovina was visited by some of the leaders of the Muslim Brothers, such as Dr. Abu al-Fotu, a member of the Brotherhood's Guidance Bureau, and Ahmed al-Malat, former Secretary General of the Muslim Brotherhood, who held the sermon against Serbs on that occasion. El-Fatih Hassanein, through his leadership of Third World Relief Agency, became a pivotal figure in financing the Bosnian Muslim cause, facilitating the delivery of weapons, humanitarian aid, and the transport of Mujahideen fighters. Referred to as Izetbegović's Minister of Finance, Hassanein's efforts included interactions with associates of Osama bin Laden for fundraising purposes. A bank account in Vienna served as a conduit for approximately $350 million, earmarked for the Bosnian war effort. This strategy, dubbed the Bosnian model by American investigators into al-Qaeda's financing, involved masking funds for weapons as humanitarian aid to ensure the transactions appeared legitimate. While some have compared Fatih al-Hassanein's role in the Bosnian jihad to the dubious part played by Haj Amin, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, in the Balkans during World War II, it's probably most accurate to give the Sudanese the name bestowed on him by Western investigators, Aliya's bagman. Hassanein skillfully used his ties to Sarajevo and Khartoum to support the Balkan Jihad. In March 1992, Hasanin was granted a diplomatic passport, and Izetbegovic requested that foreign governments treat the Sudanese as a senior official of the Sarajevo government, enabling him to transport funds to Slovenia and Croatia without police intervention. Austrian investigators discovered that from 1992 to 1995, approximately $350 million flowed through this account, contributed by governments of Islamic countries and radical Islamic movements. Among these donors was Osama bin Laden, who resided in Sudan until the mid-1990s. The Third World Relief Board of Directors included prominent figures from the Party of Democratic Action, such as Hasan Cengic, who was arrested together with Alija Izetbegovic in 1983 during Sarajevo process. At that time, he was mufti in the city of Stolac. After the war in Bosnia, he was inscribed at the USA blacklist for terrorism activities and his role in Third World Relief Agency money laundering. Hussein Jivaj, who was also arrested together with Alija Izetbegovic in 1983 during Sarajevo process, and during the war was the Bosnian ambassador to Vienna and one or the highest-ranking officers of the Third World Relief Agency, and Irfan Ljevakovic. Austrian authorities considered Ljevakovic to be a key facilitator for the entry and settlement of jihadi fighters in Bosnia and Herzegovina as humanitarian workers. After the Austrian authorities launched an investigation into money laundering in 1994, Hassanian was forced to escape and did so by fled to Istanbul under the protection of his great friend Recep Tayyip Erdogan, at that time a mayor of Istanbul. In response to the challenges posed by the presence of foreign volunteers, the Bosnian government officially formed the El Mujahid detachment on August 13, 1993, with the aim of establishing control and order over these fighters.
Države Bosne I Hercegovine I Vrhovne komande armije Bosne I Hercegovine je priznata jedinica El Džihad kao jedinica armije I samostalna pod komandom njenom.
The number of Muslim volunteers who came to Bosnia to fight varies widely, with estimates ranging up to several thousand. Ali Hamad, a Bahraini national who testified at the trial of Rasim Delic, a former Bosnian army commander, stated that he arrived in Bosnia in 1992 to participate in jihad against Serb and Croat forces. During his testimony at The Hague, Hamad revealed that some fighters were members of Al-Qaeda, aiming to establish a base to expand their operations. The Army of the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina have been basically the military wing of the global organization, the Muslim Brotherhood, with 99% of its members being Muslims. During the war, the 7th Muslim Brigade served as the military flagship of the Muslim Brotherhood in Bosnia and Herzegovina, consisting of both foreign and domestic mujahideen. Today, the command staff of this brigade occupies top positions within the armed forces of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The former commander of this brigade, Senad Mashovic, was until recently the chief of staff of the armed forces of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The presence of foreign mujahideen fighters in Bosnia led to numerous and egregious crimes against both Serbs and Croats. One of the most heinous acts involved the beheadings of Blagoj Blagojevic, Nenad Petkovic, and Branislav Đurić, a Bosnian Serbs captured in central Bosnia in 1992. The photograph of a French citizen, Christophe Akaze, a mujahideen fighter with Blagojevic's severed head, highlighted the brutal tactics employed by some foreign fighters during the conflict. Even the French media reported about some of the members of the jihadi squad in Bosnia and Herzegovina, since in France they founded terrorist cell Gang de Roubaix.
Exaltés lors du djihad, la guerre sainte en Bosnie, Christophe Caz et Lionel Dumont. Là-bas, ces deux garçons vont s'aguerrir sous la coupe de la plus redoutable des milices, la brigade El Mujahideen, celle-là même qui fut à l'origine des réseaux d'Al-Qaïda. Ils en ressortiront survoltés et violents. La presse les surnommera les Ch'tis d'Allah.
After the war, the El Mujahid unit was disarmed, but many of the former fighters stayed after taking citizenship based on certificates stating that they were part of the Muslim Bosnian army. According to media reports, more than 741 people connected to the Mujahideen received citizenship after the war.
Dragi vojnici, dakle, čestitam vam na pobjedi, još jedanput. Zahvaljujem vam se ispred našeg naroda za ono što ste učinili. Došao sam da vas vidim. učinili ste vrlo važnu stvar.
One of the main people in charge for these jihadi warriors' citizenship was Safik Jaferovic, a prominent member of the Izetbegovic party SDA, and former Muslim member of Bosnia and Herzegovina presidency. After they received citizenship of Bosnia and Herzegovina, they formed communities, usually in rural areas, where their teachings of Islam spread. Until today, some of these communities remain as purely Islamic settlements and paregimets, where their residents enforce Sharia law and Wahhabism. Some of them were engaging in war in Syria on the side of ISIS, and some were recruiting youngsters on different ways, which in 2015 resulted with the terrorist attack on the Zvornik police station in Republika Srpska. On this occasion, one policeman was killed and 2 wounded. The executor was youngster Nurdin Ibrić, and his family confirmed that he was close to the radical Islamic circles and part of Wahhabi community. The trajectory of Islamic thought and activism from the teachings of Al-Azhar University in Cairo to the political and military engagements in Bosnia and Herzegovina traces a complex lineage of ideas, movements, and individuals. As time progresses, the relevance of what Alija Izetbegovic wrote in the Islamic Declaration continues to be a topic of discussion, particularly in terms of its applicability to the aspirations of Muslims, especially in Europe, and he written exactly this.
We must therefore be first preachers and then soldiers. Our weapons are personal example, the book, the word. When is force to be joined to these? The choice of this moment is always a tangible one and depends on a series of factors. There is, however, a general rule. The Islamic movement should and can start to take over power as soon as it is morally and numerically strong enough to be able to overturn not only the existing non-Islamic government, but also to build up a new Islamic one. This differentiation is important because overturning and building do not require an equal degree of psychological and material readiness.
The realization of this ideological and political platform of the Muslim Brotherhood can best be understood through a case study of the destruction of the historic Serbian Christian community in the Muslim part of Sarajevo. After the war, Orthodox Christians exhumed their dead and carried them as they left their ancestral and historical territories. They had defended their homes during the conflict, but according to the Dayton Peace Agreement, these areas came under the control and authority of Izetbegovic's Party of Democratic Action, representing the Muslim Brotherhood. Aware of the experiences of their compatriots who were held as hostages in the Muslim part of Sarajevo during the war, where they endured systematic terror, rapes, camps, and physical annihilation, the Serb Christians dug up their dead and carried them into the unknown. In addition to that, an interactive map of 211 detention sites, prisons, and camps reveals thousands of Serbs, citizens of Sarajevo, were imprisoned, tortured, and killed. The modus operandi of the Muslim Brotherhood, or radical Islam, has been to portray their victims as criminals, and themselves as the sole victims. The consequence of such a strategy is that the historical Christian Serbian community in the Muslim part of Sarajevo is now virtually destroyed, and the city has become the headquarters of the Muslim Brotherhood for Southeast Europe. In the plans of the Muslim Brotherhood, Bosnia and Herzegovina, as a European country, must become an Islamic state in order to enable Islam to become a more authentic and legitimate part of the cultural identity of Western Europe in the phase of civilizational jihad. This phase of jihad, conducted through culture, education, economy, and politics, which is being implemented by the structures of the Muslim Brotherhood in Western Europe, exhibits the modus operandi that this organization had adopted prior to and at the beginning of the civil war in Bosnia and Herzegovina. According to the strategy of the Muslim Brotherhood, civilizational jihad includes the concept of settlement, which consists of several phases. To make Islam and its movement a part of the country they intend to settle. Establishment, to turn Islam into well-established organizations on the basis of which an Islamic civilization, structure, and religion would be built. Stability, for Islam to become stable in the country where its people are moving, to become a permanent feature of the country, and no longer be a faith of immigrants. Domestication, for Islam to be domesticated within the souls, minds, and lives of the people of the country it moves through. Rooting, for Islam to exist and not be a transient episode, to be rooted and fortified where it is located, and for it to not be an unknown plant on that soil. To the uninitiated observer, these plans might seem to have nothing particularly bad, and that everyone is merely seeking their place under the sun. However, the Muslim Brotherhood, along with other radical Islamist structures, believes that no human law or institution should exist above God's law, Sharia.